Welcome to Think Like a Dog podcast, where we explore dog behavior and psychology-based training to help your dog achieve their full potential. Welcome back to Think Like a Dog podcast. Today is just Millie and I here, and it's one of those podcasts that we are not really discussing a specific topic. This is just an open discussion.
We're in a weird mood today.
Yeah, we are.
Both of us are in strange moods.
But that just, we just kind of want to see where this takes us and start talking about, go into different questions that we've received and never got to, and just, have an open discussion.
Yeah,
but
we're going to just see what happens when me and Andreia just talk about dogs.
Where it takes us. So we don't know where this podcast is going to take us, how this is going to end.
We don't have a topic.
Yeah, we don't have a topic.
We've got a couple questions, but no actual topic for today.
Yeah. So before even hitting record, we were having a discussion about adoption applications and the answers that we get sometimes as the breaking point for someone to surrender a dog. What is that reason, and how do you even get to thinking about that or writing it down in an adoption application? And on one side, when I see that, it makes me think about how much work this person is going to want to put into their relationship with their dog, because that answer reflects so much. We get all kinds of different answers to that question. It can sometimes be, I don't know. It can sometimes be if the dog bites someone, if the dog bites the kids, if the dog is aggressive towards the other dogs. And of course, the best answers are always, there is none.
I have a question. Have you ever gotten a response that says, if the dog is not happy or does not fit with our family?
We have gotten an answer to something like that, but I feel like that is also
like if we're not compatible,
Yeah. I mean, how are you not compatible with a dog though? Like what would be... Well, like I wouldn't say.
Sometimes I feel very not compatible with my dogs. I'm just kidding. It's more like it's a family who has maybe a lot of kids and it's a lot of chaos and it's maybe overwhelming, right? For that dog. Like right now, I don't feel compatible for Bear. That's why I'm not keeping him. He wasn't a dog that I adopted anyway. He's one of our fosters, but I didn't feel compatible for Howie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he has a home now that's much more suited to him. So it's more like, do I think there's a better home out there for them? And then also, I think for a lot of dogs, how likely am I going to, like, is it for me to find that home?
I feel like a lot of people use rehoming as an easy way out, though. It's not very well thought out. I mean, most of the dogs that we've rescued, they were rehoming cases. Mm-hmm. People think there's a better home out there. Sometimes there is, and you can try, mm-hmm. like with Rusty, we're trying to adopt him out because I do think that in terms of being compatible, we're not as compatible for him because we have everything that stresses him out.
Right.
We have other dogs. We have lots of things going on all the time.
It's not like a perfect fit, like a glove.
It's not a perfect fit, but at the same time, I'm content with him being with us.
And that's what I said about Bear too, and same with Howie when he was with me, if they're staying for as long as they need to stay,
right.
But I definitely think there's a better home out there for them. But the difference with Howie and Bear is that there are a lot of people that were better home, like that were there ready and capable of taking better care of them than I was, or had a better environment. Not a lot of people exist that are able to do the same with Rusty or think that they're able to. I think a lot of people could, but they just don't know any better.
I've talked to potential adopters. I said, he can go to a home with another dog, but you're going to have to rotate, and
mm-hmm.
you're going to have 2 different relationships.
And take your time.
Take your time. So it's doable. It just depends on how much work are you willing to put in to help this dog. It all comes down to that, because thankfully Rusty's with our rescue, and we can provide all the time he needs. We've committed to him. We're not just going to rehome him to any home that applies for him. We're going to find a home that is a perfect fit. But there's a lot of people that go to the shelters and they pull a dog, they rescue a dog that they don't know a lot about. And then they bring them home and then they find out, oh, they're reactive towards other dogs. I can't have them with my dog. Back to the shelter.
Yeah.
But you can make it work.
No, yeah. I think what you said about like people rehoming or using rehoming as an excuse, just because you don't feel like you are not the most compatible situation for your dog doesn't always warrant bringing them to a shelter or, even putting them up for adoption. Sometimes it's about, I might not be the best case scenario for this dog, but I know really nobody else is going to do what I'm doing with him at this moment, or nobody's stepping up. So I am the best case scenario at this moment. But what we were talking about before, where you said, like, the first thing I do is I scroll down in our adoption applications, which right now, we have 3 up for adoption, 4 or 5? A million. We have a husky puppy.
We have a husky puppy. We have Biscuit. We have Bug. We have little Ozzy. And
who I tried to name Backpack, by the way.
He looks like a little backpack. His foster wanted to name him Ozzy, so we went with it.
The next dog will be Backpack.
Yeah. And then we have Bruce, who is with a foster right now.
So about a million dogs. So we're getting probably a lot of adoption. And Ressie. So we're probably getting a lot of adoption applications, and I know this about her, but you always scroll down and the first thing that you look for is, what would it take for you to give up your dog? And what you said earlier, and I never thought about it like this. I love that, of when people write down, if he were to bite someone, in my mind as a trainer, I've always thought, okay, I get it. Not everybody's a dog trainer. Not everybody works in rescue. Some people feel very ill-equipped to deal with that. And some people maybe don't have the money or have had a bad experience with training or whatever it is. But what you said was, well, we're giving you, if you were to adopt this dog, we are giving you a dog that has not bitten anybody, right? Yeah. Like, that has not shown, I mean, if it did, and if it had, we would tell you, but has not shown any interest in biting anybody. And now you're going to say, if for some reason what you teach this dog when he's with you, or some miscommunication that you have with this dog, now you're going to say, creates a bite. Now you're going to say, okay, I'm going to give him back, especially when our program includes training. So it would take a lot for you to adopt a dog from us. You would have to not listen to any of our training. You would have to literally have a very, opposite environment than what you told us you would have on the application. And then you would say, okay, because I lied and I didn't follow through, I'm going to give a dog back that tried to bite me.
When people are applying for a dog, there needs to be some research. Where are you applying that dog from? What kind of, support are you going to receive? How long has the dog been with the rescue? There needs to be more research and education on that, because you're going to make a big decision. So that should also play in terms of our applications. That should play a big part in that answer, that specific, question that we're asking, what is your breaking point? But then also, if your mind is already there before you even adopt a dog, you are already creating a way out. Yeah. If it doesn't go exactly how you think it's going to go.
Now, when we get answers to those questions that say, if even with a ton of training, my dog still tries to go after the cats, or my dog still tries to go after the kids, you and I both have taken dogs out of situations that we know the person tried the whole way through and it just didn't fit. Because as much as you can train dogs and create a different relationship with your dog, you can't control every factor in life. And if you have a home that has a lot of chaos, that might be a situation where we're sort of setting the dog up to fail and or not be involved in anything, just always be put up in a room and not actually get to learn and be out. Ideally, we know that about the dog and we don't adopt that dog out to you before that. But I guess I just never thought about it in the way of when people are writing that question down or writing the answer down of, if he were to bite somebody, in their brain, they're thinking that if this dog just wakes up and just starts biting people one day, not that they would have anything to do with it. I like that. I never thought about it like that. It's just that they think that the dog's just going to wake up and just decide to start biting people.
And I think that's what a lot of people do think, even when they come see you.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Yep.
Like, people think they play no role in the dog's behavior. And before I started working with you guys, when I had that first issue with Bubbles, my dog, and I was looking for help, I knew I did something wrong. Like, I knew in my head, I thought what I did wrong was I had the food bowls up high and I was walking around with food. Like, that was it. But it wasn't really, I didn't really go in depth in my thoughts of, okay, overall, what did the whole picture look like?
Well, we didn't have the whole picture at that point.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, at that point, yes, I knew it was intensity, but I didn't know that this was something that would, that was, could be painted with a broader brush, right? Like, I didn't know that this was outside of food either. It wasn't until the second fight that I knew, okay, this is bigger than just food.
Yeah.
This is more of a general intensity issue with him. But what we really got into right before we pressed record was I asked Andrea a question because you said Poochie
Yes.
had, we're talking about this. Okay. Poochie is her little dog. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know that I am constantly on Andrea about how little dogs are still dogs.
That's true.
Okay. She knows it in her head, but in her heart and in her actions,
Hey,
sometimes it's a problem.
but I would just want to say this. Millie is already so wired as a trainer that, like, you are a dog owner, but you're more a trainer than a dog owner. Like, you're hardwired as a trainer. And
Yes. Okay.
and like a dog owner.
Are we about to fight on our podcast? I think we're about to fight. This is so fun. Okay. Everyone let us know if you want more fights between me and Andrea.
But as a dog owner, you're thinking, like, in my thought process is, so Poochie is little, right? He does deserve to receive just as much structure as Bubbles. And giving your dog structure, we talk about it, it's like you're teaching them ways to deal with their emotions. You're teaching them ways to get out of, cope with stress. But I take a lot seriously Bubbles and all my bigger dogs. I take a lot serious their structure than my little dogs, because I feel like I can take them out of situations.
And they can't cause as much damage.
And they can't cause as much damage. And my big dogs, I take that very seriously. So I don't like to get them routed up. I don't like to get people in. I don't let anybody come near them when they come visit. I put them up in their crates. I make sure I don't have them just coming out in the yard and running loose when we have guests.
You're probably more structured with your big dogs than I am with my dogs.
So I try to keep them calm, and I try to, control the environment, and I try to teach them ways to cope with stress. But the little ones, I'm not, but with our little ones, I think I'm just not as, I don't just take that as seriously with them
because the liability is lower.
The liability is lower.
Yeah. And right now we have a lot of little dog fosters, and like Popcorn just got adopted, who's one of our littles. And you said that before of it's sort of open, and honestly, you were proven right, because a lot of people applied to adopt these little dogs. And not so much the big ones, because it is easier to manhandle them. The liability is lower. They're not going to pull you down on the walk, all of that. And all of that is true. And yes, I think you are correct in the way that I am hardwired as a trainer. I am. I think more so the thing that gets me is not that, because like I said, you're more structured with your big dogs than I am with my dogs. I think I see a lot of stress in little dogs. I see more stress in little dogs than I do in big dogs. And I think if I'm hardwired as a trainer, I think it's also I'm hardwired as like an empath, right? So I feel it in them. And that's the reason I became a trainer in the first place, is I could feel a dog's like inability to handle a really stressful situation. So when people say, well, I can easily just pick my dog up and take him out of the situation. In my mind, I'm like, well, that doesn't make them feel better. Like that makes the situation better. But my issue isn't always what the situation can be. It's how does the dog feel? Like what's the quality of life there, right? For a lot of little dogs, they have lower quality of life than a lot of big dogs because we don't work them through anything. They live their lives either in fear or thinking that they are 100 pounds and could take anybody down. But if anybody tries to like actually, go at them or stand their ground, they're shaking in their boots. Like I see so much stress in little dogs because we don't treat them like dogs. And that's, I think, where I get sticky with it.
Right now, we have our foster bug, our best. He's a little schnauzer. He's about 11 pounds, I want to say. And his story is interesting, and it really goes into what we're talking about now. He was surrendered to the shelter because they say he bit the kid. He bit a kid. And at the shelter, he was labeled as level 3.
What does that mean? Was that because he bit a kid or because he was sick?
Because he has a bite history, and because they said when he got to the shelter, he was very snappy. Like that, they said that he's like a biter. Like he would bite anybody.
Yeah.
And when I look back now, and now I'm getting to know him, this dog has not attempted to bite me once.
Yeah.
Not once. But since the first day we got him, we've been teaching him crate.
Yeah.
I have not let him, as he's working with us, when he's with me, he's in the crate. If I had Louie and Poochie out, this dog loves his crate now. I mean, I put him in the crate. I don't hear him. Good. I don't remember he's there.
Oh, you should remember. Don't forget about the dog crate.
But he's not like they're whining or crying or ripping something apart. He's just there. And it's so nice to see him being able to come out his shell, to, get more comfortable. And he's learning how to cope with stress just through the crate. That's all I'm offering him because we haven't went into place. We haven't,
he's been really sick.
Skills. Yeah, he's been pretty sick. And so we haven't really done much of like structured walks or just taking him to day camp. He hasn't started any of that. All he knows is crate, and just the crate alone has been giving him a lot of comfort.
Because he's got a way of clocking out.
He has a way of clocking out. And when he's with our littles around them, as he's been, interacting with them over the last few days, they get kind of rowdy, and he goes to the crate. He's like, all right, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome thing there that he's able to do. But it's nice to see him as a little dog going into the shelter, labeled as a level 3 aggressive dog that bit someone. And now seeing him being able to cope with any kind of stress just by going in his crate, like that's an outlet for him. It's nice to see that, because not even my littles, I haven't worked with them that way. And now I have my little ones that I put in the crate, they whine for 15 minutes before settling down. And then I have Bug that goes in the crate and that's it. He
15 minutes
out.
Is better than where we started.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think the best thing that people can do, if you are the owner of a little dog, the best thing that you can do is treat them like they are 1,000 pounds. That's the best thing that you can do with any dog, right? Of whether they're 50, 100, 10, it doesn't matter. Communicate with them in a different way than just manhandling them. Yeah. I mean, imagine if if every time you got in a fight with somebody and Ozzy just picked you up and took you out of the room. Like, can you imagine how angry you would feel, and also how like vulnerable you would feel? Like, I think, like I said, that's my biggest thing with little dogs. So whenever I do, and I it's not often, but I do have people that come to me with their little dogs for training sessions. Popcorn, Jillian saw Popcorn yesterday. Whenever I do, I get so excited because people actually care. Like, that truly shows me that you aren't just doing this for your convenience. You are doing it because you care about the quality of life that you are offering your little dog. You are there because you care about your relationship. Except for if you're there because your little dog's barking a lot. Because that's the thing that I've gotten before.
Yeah, that's something that people have listed as the breaking point, is excessive barking and biting and all the bad things that a dog has all the right to do if they're put into an uncomfortable situation. Like, how are you going to ask your dog not to bark, but then you're not going to do anything about it?
You haven't taught them a different way of dealing with it.
Anything. Yeah. So I like, in terms of like big dog, little dog, people, I feel like it's a lot to ask for. In a perfect world, people would all be balanced. They would care about they would take it just as seriously on both ends. But when you are with a large breed, if you adopt a large breed, if you get a baby puppy and they grow into a large breed, I feel like that needs to be the first thing in your mind. It's like, all right, that's
because you don't have wiggle room.
Like there's no wiggle room. Like you are the owner of a large breed dog that can pull you around if they wanted to.
Yeah.
You have no control over them. You shouldn't be walking outside your house with a reactive dog on a leash and think that's okay, or think that you can manhandle that dog, because you cannot.
Yeah. Or, I mean, do it with just making it up as you go along. If your dog is reactive, you should have gotten a trainer that first bite, ideally when the dog was showing it was going to bite, especially if it's a large breed dog. I mean, you don't have, especially if it's a pit mix or a shepherd mix or anything like that, because you don't have the wiggle room. You should, if you're listening to this right now or watching this right now, and you have a dog who has shown that they are nervous enough to move forward with a bite, press pause, go to Google and look up a trainer near you, or we can do a video consult, whatever, but don't wait. Yes. Don't wait. Like it's only getting worse.
Yeah. There's no wiggle room there, and you should be taking everything much seriously, and you should be open to learning. You should not be at a place where, because you think something doesn't look good, because you wouldn't want that done to yourself, that doesn't mean your dog's not going to understand, is not going to learn how to cope with stress through that tool that you supposedly don't agree with. One of the things that really irks me is,
oh no, this is becoming...
No, but I was holding this on for a long time. So this is the podcast.
This is more like a, what do you call it? Like we're just out here just ranting.
Just ranting. When we post our videos, when we post our clips, I
have no idea what she's going to say.
We get comments from all different kinds of people. Sometimes our videos went viral. So we get 50% of people want to understand what we're talking about, and 50% absolutely wants to kill us.
Feel really, really bad for my dog specifically.
And they say things like, the other day, someone messaged me and said, because I posted a clip of one of our rescues learning about the crate, a puppy, a 5-month-old puppy, learning how to enjoy being in her crate. So we're teaching her that. Rebecca, her foster and trainer at Mirror Image, is teaching her how to understand what a crate means. She's not just putting her in the crate and like, here, just stay.
Which is exactly what her previous home did.
Yes.
So we're trying to reteach and reassociate the crate with her.
Yes. And someone said, that made me so sad. I just hate the crate. It's so cruel. Like you wouldn't want to be stuck in a crate yourself. But the crate, we say it all the time, that's your dog's bedroom. Mm-hmm. Your dog is not a human. Your dog is a dog that has different feelings than you do. And if you see it as a crate, they don't see it as a crate. They see it as their bedroom.
As their den.
They see it as their den. We can't scratch out who they are in terms of, their instincts. Like you can't disregard their instincts and make your human instincts the same instincts that they have.
It would be like a dog coming into our world and saying, I feel awful that person has to shower every single day. Can you imagine? Because in their world, hygiene doesn't matter, right? Yeah. In our world, it matters. So it's different, right? I mean, it's different and it's the same because it is their bedroom. It's not a jail cell. It's not a jail cell.
It's not a jail cell. And if you see it because it looks like a jail cell to you, to them, it doesn't look like that.
Right.
They're not seeing the world through your eyes.
Right.
They're seeing it much differently. And when you finally realize that your dog has a different view of everything that's going on, they don't understand everything that's going on the same way you do. They're not looking at a car and saying, oh, that's a car. Mm-hmm. I know where that's going. Oh, that's a motorcycle. Oh, this is a big house. Oh, this is a small house. Like they don't know that. No. They don't see it through your eyes. So for you to just disregard everything that's going to help them because you feel some type of way about it, that is completely disregarding their feelings, their comfort, their them being able to achieve their full potential, to be a rel.
Yeah, we go so fast, like so far past like this. Because I'm assuming that person that messaged you loved dogs. And I don't doubt that, right? But we go so far past our love of dogs into we love them, but now we're trying to make them something that they are not.
Right.
If you love dogs, love them for being dogs. Stop trying to make them humans. That is I mean, I'm not saying that person did not have good intentions and would not stop on the side of the road if she saw a dog that needed help. I'm sure she was a good person, right? I'm sure every single person who has commented on I bet you disagree, but on our videos disagreeing with us, fine. You're allowed to have a different opinion.
I don't think you're...
Yeah, I'm sorry. Andrea does not think you're a good person.
But this is what I mean. If you like dogs just up until they act exactly the way you want them to act or do exactly what you want them to do without you even doing anything to help them cope with any kind of stress, or you're just hoping that a dog comes into your life. They're cuddly, they're cute, they love every single human.
They're what you want.
They're exactly what you want. If they're that, then you love them. If they're not, you return them to a shelter or you let them go in the street there's all of those dogs that are in the shelter right now was first from someone that thought they loved them. They love that dog.
Or
a lot of times.
A really awful human who wanted to profit off of a dog because we are in the South.
Yes. But a lot of times people get dogs and they think, oh, I love this dog. I want this dog. And then this dog acts like a dog.
Yeah.
They are going to bark. They're going to get stressed. They're going to, if they have to bite, if they feel in danger, they're going to use their teeth. That's what dogs do. So you love them up until they are an inconvenience.
Up until they communicate in a way that is natural to them.
So if you're watching different videos online, if you don't agree with the crate, if you don't agree with the muzzle, if you don't agree with whatever, the loop, if you don't have a dog that needed that, if your dog is perfect and he walks perfectly with a harness and he doesn't have separation anxiety, or he is great in the house and he loves everybody, like if your dog doesn't need that, great. But that does not mean somebody else's dog is not going to need that. And that doesn't make that dog less worthy of love and care and of a family and of attention.
And also that doesn't mean that us providing, when I provide my dog a crate, when I provide my dog structure, that is my way of loving them. Just like it was my parents' way of loving me when I grew up, like giving me structure, giving me rules and boundaries. That's how they created an adult who could live on her own and pay her own bills and find somebody that is a stable human to share their life with, right? Like it's not... it was not a free for all. There are, I'm sure, plenty of parents that do free for all, and maybe the kids love it and maybe they don't. But in my house, I needed the structure. With my dog, structure works. I will never, ever, ever tell anybody, if you are happy with your relationship with your dog, don't change a thing. Fine, do that.
Exactly.
Like I'm not trying to get you to change anything about your relationship with your dog. But if you are saying, I'm happy with my relationship with my dog, but my dog, let's say, barks at every single person that they see outside the window or bites my guests, but it's my guest's fault, right? It's not something that is anything to do with me and my dog. Then to me, you might be happy with that relationship, but your dog isn't. Your dog isn't, right? So a lot of these behavioral problems, yes, are happening because the dog is a dog, and that's their only way of showing you that there is these are little symptoms to a bigger issue. But at the end of the day, these are still issues that need to be solved for your dog's sake, even if it's not for your sake. So the whole thing about, well, my dog doesn't chew up things in the house, so I don't need a crate. Fine, but inevitably, every single time I ask that, I go, did your dog like the crate? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, then why did you get rid of it? Why would you get rid of something that your dog likes? Yeah. What are you doing?
Just thinking that the dog, putting your thoughts and wants and needs on your dog and thinking that's what they want.
Because it was a need in your mind, but for your dog, it might have been like a want or a safe space, and maybe not even a want, but a coping mechanism, right? Like,
Right.
you know, I don't tear up things in my house, but I'm still allowed a bedroom. I also pay for my house, but whatever. It's not a good analogy this time. All right. Give me a question, Andrea. Let's start,
go into the questions.
I'm really interested to see how this this episode is received by everyone.
All right. So here you go. My dog pulls and barks when a car passes us by. While I try to avoid it, sometimes I can't.
I'm assuming that wasn't just like a fun little thing to tell me. Like it was like wants me to give advice.
So your dog pulls and barks when a car passes us by, and while I try to avoid it, sometimes I
bet
can't.
that came in the in a question box on Instagram. Yeah. If your question is too long, because we post questions every single time we're about to record, if your question is too long for the question box, please go to either message us on there, or ideally, please go to our website or my website, the Mirror Image website, and I have a question box there, and it's a lot easier for me. It goes straight to our email. So if you're walking your dog and the street is on your right and your dog is also on your right, so your dog is in between you and the street, one of my favorite ways to deal with reactivity when it comes to like streets, to cars or bicycles, or sometimes even dogs, is I will switch them behind my back right before they're about to react. Ideally, right before they're about to react. So I'll have the leash kind of relaxed in my hand. We're walking and kind of checking in with my dog. When I see them about to pop up and like kind of perk up, so at this time they are on the side that the car is on. Right when I see them pop up, I move them and I change the leash hand behind my back and create space, and I move them to my other side. So what you're doing in that moment is you're showing them how to create space away from something that stresses them out. And eventually, if you do that enough, you will have a dog who will attempt to move away on their own, and always honor that. That's the time where I will every time honor a dog trying to move away from a trigger, even if that means they're making a decision on the walk. That's a good decision.
Yeah. And that all goes into how are they using their leash, right? Like what kind of tools are you using? Exactly.
Yeah, that's assuming that your dog understands leash pressure. That's assuming that you have a nice structured walk. That's assuming that you've got your basics and your foundation down.
Exactly. And that's why we said don't cross out tools that would be helpful for your dogs, although you might not feel so good.
Spicy today.
But exactly, because the loop is everything for us. Like for me and my big dogs, I will not leave the house without that little loop around their mouth.
I mean, if your dog understands, if you're like crazy sensitive to pressure and release, I'm sure the same concept would work with a regular collar and like a regular flat collar and leash. But if your dog is pulling you in, you have to have the basics down.
Yeah,
you have to.
The basics. And we discussed that in previous episodes. So everything is labeled and you can go through and just kind of work your way up to be able to understand that if you have.
We also have a leash walking e-guide on our website that you can buy. It's like 10, 15 pages where it'll take you step by step on how to teach your dog a structured leash walk.
Perfect. So we have another one here, and that talks about how do you introduce and use the e-collar? I know it is not a training tool, but an reinforcement tool, but I am unsure of when it is appropriate to use it and how.
Okay. I'm excited, but it's also a lot. First step is, once again, you have to have the basics. So your dog has to understand leash pressure. So whenever you are introducing an unfamiliar type of pressure, whether that is the loop or electronic pressure from your e-collar, you have to have a good understanding and a good way of communicating with a familiar type of pressure so you can use that to teach the new type of pressure. So make sure your dog is really good on the leash. And then you're going to, at first, your second step is finding the working level. So your working level on an e-collar is where you're getting a response, not a reaction. You do not want this big, oh my God, what was that? It's not a correction. You want a dog who just goes, okay, I feel that. That can look really different depending on the dog. That can look like a dog maybe just twitching their ear. That can look like a dog going from an open mouth to a closed mouth. Most often, when you're finding the working level, your dog is not going to be very transparent with you about hey, I feel that when it is at their working level, because they don't know what it means. So before there's a meaning to it, most dogs will just ignore it. So what will happen is when I'm going up and I'm finding the working level, I'm just going to like level 1, I'm tapping a couple times, level 2, tapping a couple times. Most of the time I'll get to like level 12 maybe, and that's out of 100. And I'll be like, there's no way, right? I know that you work on a single digit because 100% of the dogs that I have ever worked with work on single digits. So what I will start doing is I'll just start working them on a level 12. I'll just start putting meaning to it. Now, what meaning to it looks like is you're layering that e-collar on every bit of leash pressure and every bit of spatial pressure that you are giving. So, every time you turn and then there's leash pressure, you're layering the e-collar pressure on. Every time you move into your dog and you want your dog to move back, you're layering that e-collar pressure on. So it's just another form of pressure. Now, you're going to see your dog, let's say you stopped at that level 12, you're going to see your dog starts like really kicking their head. That means you're too high. You do not want a dog having a big reaction to this. So most of the time that I am finding a working level, I'll start working a dog. And I mean, by the time the session's over, I'm at a 3 or 4 when I started at a 12, just because they had no idea what it meant.
And that's just teaching them that the leash pressure is similar to the e-collar.
It's my off-leash leash. That's the way that I explain it. It's my off-leash leash. So it's my way of giving direction when I have nothing attached to my dog. That's my end goal for it.
Nice. Okay. So since we're talking about training tools, someone asked, is there a specific muzzle that you'd recommend?
Yeah. I mean, your basic ones are going to be Baskervilles. Baskerville has come out with, they used to have like your belt buckle clip. They now have more of like a quick clip fastener thing. It works, it's fine, but if you can find an old version of it where it's like a belt buckle clip, those are your better ones. But Baskervilles are great. They're easy to get on Amazon. They have really general sizes. Now, our other muzzles that we love are from the Muzzle Movement. They also have really fun colors, and they have more variety to their sizes. And they have that nice kind of clip on the back, the belt buckle clip. Lastly, you can go to Trust Your Dog and get a custom muzzle. You can do a biothane or you can do a vinyl custom muzzle. Some of them are bite proof, some of them are not bite proof, but they're bite resistant. But if you know you're going to use a muzzle long term, please get a custom one. Get one that is fitted to your dog's face. Now, before you go online and you order a custom muzzle, make sure you read the direction for the measurements, because they are in depth. They want a lot of the measurements on your dog's face. If you can't safely get your dog's measurements, get a Baskerville. Get something that's like really kind of general, and then start practicing with getting your dog's measurements and handling and all the things you need to work on. And then you can order a custom one.
This one is pretty fun. What does a dream training client look like?
Do you want me to say you? One that will start a rescue with me, one that will start a podcast with me.
That's why I asked that one. I just wanted you to say.
That's not really on the list, is it? I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh man, a dream training client. For sure, one that's ready to learn. Yeah. That's probably, I'm gonna come up with 5 things. One that's ready to learn, open-minded, willing to move forward. You can't live in the past. You can't live in the future even, right? Of what might happen, willing to move forward. I think somebody who is committed, somebody who is, I have a client, and I know she listens, Lorena, who has been with me from, I don't know, like 2 years. And she has a very reactive German Shepherd. And every once in a while she calls me out, and she's an amazing handler. Every once in a while she calls me out and she's like, we forgot everything. We're back to square one. And I come out and I bring one of my dogs. And I'm like, everything looks good to me. Yeah. But it's a matter that she wants to do it right. And she wants to do it for him. So open-minded, ready to learn, committed, ready to move forward, and then doing it for your dog. Right. Don't do it for you. Do it for them.
you are such an open-minded trainer. It's not your way or no way. You know, it's what works for you works for you. If you want to use a different method, we'll use a different method. Like, what do you feel comfortable with? You ask all the right questions and you help your
There's
clients.
people that would disagree with you, but thank you.
And sometimes you scream at people. But
I have been known to do that.
But only when you're protecting the dog. It's all about protecting the dog because you feel so much for the dogs and you want so much and you see their potential, and it doesn't matter, you know, what their issue is. If it's a super reactive dog, you love them all the same, and you just want the best for them. You know?
The reactive ones, honestly, I love more.
Yeah.
If you're a dog, I mean, everyone who tells me, I promise they're really sweet. And I'm like, I kind of like them better if they're not really sweet. Cause those are the dogs that I understand. Like I said, when we, I think it's in the, you know, how to become a trainer episode. I got into this because I understand what it feels like to not feel so balanced. So when it's a dog who is kind of a jerk, I love those dogs. Those are my bread and butter. But yeah, that's why I feel like it doesn't matter if your dog is small. It doesn't matter if your dog is giant. It doesn't matter what your dog is doing. If your dog isn't balanced, I feel for them. And I want you to also feel for them. I don't want you to come into the center because you're, you know, annoyed with your dog's behaviors. I want you to come and sign up for a session because you want to see a better life for your dog.
And when it comes down to that, that's when you are going to make changes and you're going to become committed and you're going to step outside your comfort zone and you're going to look at things differently.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we do go into training because we're annoyed with the dogs and we want them to act a certain way. And then you're going to learn how to care about their emotions. I feel like this is what your training is about. You're really teaching your clients to care about their dog's emotions and not just overwrite that and think, you know, let's put their emotions aside as long as they're in a perfect heel, as long as they're on place, as long as they're, you know, they're laying down, as long as they're listening to a
care
command.
So much about their emotions that they don't actually work on anything and they make their dog live in this perfect little bubble. That's the other side of it.
We talked about this right before. It's frustrating for you as a trainer to see a dog that needs so much help. And you have clients that come to you and they see you and they ask for help. But when you tell them how to do it, they don't do it.
And I truly believe there are some people that just can't think outside of themselves. And I don't know that that's a character flaw in them. I don't know. I don't know that that's a bad thing. It's just, there are some people that can't get out of their own brain. Like I said, I don't think it's an insult. It's that they are them and they don't know what it is to feel like for another being. So they're not going to get it. They're not going to see the point of the crate. They're not going to see, you know, why I am giving the advice I'm giving. And that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. I have, you know, fired clients before who just, they weren't getting it and it was repeating the same thing over and over and over again. But I firmly believe that there are just some people who can't do it or maybe aren't willing to step outside their comfort zone. Or so that's another thing that you said that would be a dream training client. Somebody who is, she's going to love this. Miss Reese is a dream training client. Ever since I finally convinced her to actually like work on things with me because we were friends for a long time. And finally convinced her to actually work with me and Riley, her dog, on dog reactivity and a little tiny, like a little skosh of human reactivity, like sprinkled on there. Ever since then, she's never said no. Like, I mean, and when we have our client pack walks, she used to try to be all the way in the back behind everybody. And I used to force her to be in the middle or in the front. So she's just around dogs. And the other day she came up to me and she was like, you know, I was like walking during the client pack walk and I was looking around. I had like a dog to my right, a dog to my left, a dog in front of me, a dog behind me. And I thought, how did we get here? And I looked at her, I was like, you just kept coming. You just never gave up. She came to pack principles. Like every single thing that she does is for him. It's not for her. And she is very willing to feel uncomfortable because it's not, I mean, that's growth. Growth is being uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable to grow, both you and your dog.
Your trainer is telling you to do is a safe way. It's not hurting your dog. It's not getting your dog to show you this big reaction from like jumping from a high e-collar level or a prong collar that's yanking them around.
Right.
Like if your trainer's sitting down with you and telling you, this is your dog, this is the problems that they have, this is how you can help them cope with it. And that means giving them a crate to sleep in at night. They're going to sleep anyways. Might as well sleep in the crate. Or if they're napping, they can nap in the crate. Oh, a place board, just the area they can associate with, I'll go here when I'm feeling stressed. Or, a muzzle that they can still drink water. They can still
But they get
breathe.
to be in the world with.
But they get to be in the world. And the muzzle is really, you're going to be so confident when you're next to your dog because there's nothing that could happen with the muzzle on. There's no chance they could just bite someone or bite a person that comes close to you. You're going to be so confident. Your dog's going to feel that.
Yeah, that's my other PSA. If you have a dog who has bitten a human before or has shown that they have any interest in biting a human, you need to be muzzle training now.
Yeah.
There are clients that I will not, like training clients, I will not take until that dog is muzzle trained. Like that's a rule that we have because I need my hands to do my job.
Exactly. And a lot of people see the muzzle. I don't like how that looks. It's so
Good
cruel.
thing dogs aren't vain, right?
Yeah.
Dogs don't care.
Dogs don't care. And your energy with your dog is going to be so different when you're confident that they're not going to do anything wrong. They're going to feel that. They're going to say, okay, I feel good because they feel good. Now it's a good conversation you guys are having, right there.
I mean, and if you need to like bedazzle the muzzle to feel good, do it. I'd love to see a bedazzled muzzle.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
And it also is going back to being a client, and working with a trainer. The right trainer is going to show you how to go through the steps. They're going to give you guidance. There's tons of training guides online that you can use. Just don't put a muzzle on them and hope they love it. That's not going to how it's going to go. But if you do it the right way, they're not even going to notice it's there. That's the goal. So there's another question here. What is your opinion on leash greetings? If you do approve of them, how do you go about doing them? And what is your opinion of doggy meetups for socialization? As a frequent listener of the podcast, I understand that dog parks are not in the dog's best interest, but are on-leash dog meetups any better? Any interest in doing traveling workshops to Denver?
Denver what? Denver
smiley face.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure. I'll come out. No problem. I'll be there tomorrow. Text me the address. Okay. So on leash greetings, I don't love because most of the time it's done very wrong. It's done with pressure on both sides of the leash on both dogs, right? So all these dogs feel our frustration. It's done with dogs that are overexcited to see each other. And by putting them on the leash, we are taking flight away. So the option of flight away on top of we have them next to us. So if there's any claiming that would happen, it's likely to happen. My favorite way of socializing on leash is walking together because that's natural for our dogs. Not interacting, like they're not interacting, but pack walking. So pack walking can be one person walking multiple dogs, but we have a client pack walk every month that it's one person walking one dog, but 50 of those where we're all just out walking together. And to me, that's still a pack. We're still walking together. So I think that would be my favorite way of socializing. Now, on leash, when we do walk a new dog into the pack, they are on leash because we don't know them, or we do know them and we know they have issues. So when we walk them into the pack, we make sure that our leash is loose and that the dogs that are out are dogs that we trust their decision making. So dogs that we know very well their social skills. We know that we could ask them to back away if we really needed to. So there's a way to do it that is safe and okay, but most of the time it's not. It's done with two very overexcited dogs immediately going right to each other's noses, and then there's tension, and then there's pressure on the leash, and then it's a blow up. So most of the time, not my favorite thing. So I would just walk together, and then at the end of it, ideally there's no leash pressure, and you can have them play.
Yeah, and that's when we have rescue dogs come in, new foster dogs, I try to get them to walk with my dogs as soon as before they meet, 101. And that just really helps them settle down. Like it's no longer a big reaction, you know?
Because you're saying I need to be more relevant than this other dog.
Yeah. And one of our dogs, example, Bubbles, he prefers pack walks versus chaos playing. Like he doesn't like that.
Well, he prefers pack walks and up until like his 5 minutes is up, and then he's got to lay down and take an hour-long nap, but then he can do another 5 after an hour-long nap.
He's just, other than being lazy,
I brought Bubbles to our client pack walk, and I almost texted you after, like, I don't know that he's going to recover from this. Like, we walked 2 miles, and I don't know that Bubbles ever had done that much work in his life.
Today we had him loose in the yard, and we have like a large fenced in yard, and he was loose. Like he gets his freedom in the yard, and my mom is worried because we're trying to open the gate for my brother to get out, and we're looking for Bubbles. And she is calling him. He's not coming, right? And she looks in the camera and he's just knocked out, like in the back of the house. He's just out, like dreaming, just nothing there. And she opens the gate. The cars get out. She closes the gate up. This dog is still sleeping.
Yeah, he's a pretty lazy animal.
He just fell asleep.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
She's like, if we're counting him to guard the yard, it's over. Yeah. Like somebody's going to come in here, play with him.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. He doesn't care. Yeah.
He does not care.
But yeah, when you walk a dog in and you have other off leash dogs, that's fine. Make sure your leash is a little bit loose and that you're advocating for your dog. But ideally move in the same direction, move with each other. That's our best way of socializing.
Awesome. So, I mean, we have gone through a few questions, but I feel like we've recorded.
We did too much ranting at first. Yeah, I get it.
But I think we've hit a good point right now with the podcast.
I really want to know what people think of this episode. So if you can comment and let us know if you want more ranting episodes or if you like more like topics. Because if you want to just have us rant about things and just randomly talk about things with dogs, just give us ideas. We can talk.
Yeah.
But if you like more structured topics, I'd like to know that.
Yeah. And also we're going to start having guests in the podcast.
If we can figure out the technology.
And if you have any trainers, anyone that you're interested or have been listening to or following or worked with, if you want to email us or send us a message on Instagram about, who that person is, we can try to reach out to them. And our goal is to just connect with as many people as possible, discuss different topics, and be able to give you guys a lot more to listen to.
Yeah, hopefully what we're also going to be doing is video consults with clients, and we'll probably post on our social media pages that we might want somebody with, this type of issue with their dog to come on and ideally be on the podcast with us, and we can kind of workshop what's going on in your house.
Awesome. So if you guys are not following us yet on Instagram, please do so at Think Like a Dog Podcast. We're also on TikTok, but Instagram, we're a little bit more active on there in terms of getting the question.
Because I don't get on TikTok. That's my fault. That's my fault.
Well, we post every day on TikTok, but on Instagram is where you can put like the question box and everything on.
And I'll check the messages on Instagram. I will not check them on TikTok. I'm scared to check them on TikTok.
Well, if you guys also have more, a feedback or anything else that you want to send us, our email's also always open.
Please be nice. Like, even if you disagree with us, please just be nice to us.
Be a nice person. Be a decent human being. Millie is a very nice person. She's a lot nicer than I am. So if you see comments on TikTok or Instagram, most of the time it's me on there. So just disregard any answers that just seem a little bit more
if they're spicy,
feisty.
It's Andreia. Yeah, if it's talking about actually like answering your question, even though you may have wanted to fight me with the question that you're asking, if I'm answering it, that's me, because I'm just not getting the cue that you wanted to fight me.
So thank you so much for joining us today. And don't forget to leave us a review if you're enjoying the podcast. We truly appreciate it. And don't forget,
practice makes progress.
Thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Think Like a Dog Podcast and follow at Mirror Image Canine for training tips. If you have any questions, please reach out to us via email at info@thinklikeadogpodcast.com.